Three, two, one. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show and taking the time out of your day to do so. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. So, so you're located in the UK. We just talked off air a little bit that you're saying it's getting back to normal. So, have you had like any breaks with training or anything like that that's mandated, or all the gyms are pretty much open?
Yeah, everything's pretty much back to normal now.
Mm-hmm.
They reopened, I think it was, I think a few months now we've been back
Got
on
it.
track.
Got it. So how did you get into like training and fitness in general?
Yeah, so I started training for powerlifting
Mm-hmm.
around 2015 and competed within that for around 4 years. I actually went to Australia to do a big powerlifting competition there
Oh,
in
wow.
2019 when COVID all first started.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously when I got there, the competition got cancelled. So
That's
I literally
terrible.
flew there for 5 days and then had to come home again. So just got over jet lag and then had to come back and get it again.
So you went there and then you couldn't even compete, you couldn't do anything, and you had to stay there and then essentially just come right back and just waste of time and waste of money, I'm sure.
Yeah, so like, I mean, it was when it first all kicked off, so I shouldn't have really gone, but I thought, oh, it'll be fine. And
Yeah.
then as soon as we got there, yeah, within a couple of days, like Melbourne literally just shut down completely.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, everyone get out.
Yeah, it's yeah, Australia is really strict about like, well, they're strict about everything, but they definitely were strict about COVID, and I think they still are. I think it's still like pretty tight there. So it's
Yeah, I've got a couple of friends there and they're all back in lockdown and stuff. So
yeah, it's tough. Yeah, well, what happened to me in the beginning is similar to you, only I just happened to find out the news right before I left. I was supposed to go to the Arnold Classic in Ohio. And the day I was going to leave was when they announced that there's really not going to be an expo. I guess they allowed the competitors to still compete, but there was not going to be any kind of expo or anything like that. No one else was going to be really allowed in. And so if I caught that news any later, I would have been in Ohio and not with nothing to do. Because really, I don't know if you ever been in Columbus, Ohio. There's nothing to do there except Arnold. Like during the Arnold, it's crazy, and then every other time of the year, there's like nothing there to do. So yeah, it was a weird time, right? Like it was just like everything was kind of, you didn't know what to do. The shows, like people weren't sure, like, should I book a show? Should I try to prep for a show? How did you deal with like the bodybuilding part of it? Like, did you prep for any shows? Did you have to miss any shows? Anything like that?
So after obviously that happened and it was actually the Arnold's that I was meant to be competing at, but in powerlifting.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I come back, that's when I decided to start training just for bodybuilding.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously did majority of the training in lockdown in my front room, while sort of prepping for this year, because obviously we didn't think that it was going to last as long as it did.
Yeah.
So I just started prep in February this year for my show in July.
Okay.
And obviously it was in and out of lockdown and stuff, but I do work for it at a gym, so
Mm-hmm.
I managed to get kit to like just continue to train as best I could, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Go
it
ahead.
could have not gone on, but we just went for it anyway.
Sure. So you're going to be competing this upcoming July, right? Correct. That's what you're saying.
I've already competed.
Oh, you've already competed. Okay.
Yeah. So I
So
did 2 shows, one July and then one just 4 weeks ago in August.
awesome. So how did those shows go? How was your experience there?
Yeah, really good. It was my first, well, it was my first show, first season,
Mm-hmm.
competing within bodybuilding and stuff. So it was all just completely new, had no expectations of it, but really, really loved the whole process of it,
Yeah.
and now looking forward to the future with it.
Yeah. What division are you competing in?
In figure.
In figure. Okay. So is it NPC figure?
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's two bros over here. So yeah, the IFBB.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Bros.
What made you decide to do figure? Like, why not, something different? I was going to say bikini, but I don't, I know you've got a muscular build, but is
Yeah,
that kind of what led to it?
pretty much. Yeah, like obviously my legs were already quite big. I don't have the upper body size yet for figure really to be competitive, but obviously that's where I'm gonna push in for this like sort of next off season.
Sure.
But legs wise, I think I would have to come down quite a lot to compete in the other classes, like
Yeah.
like bikini and stuff. I was just
Got it. How would you have to come down for figure at all, or are they just right for figure?
I'd say they like my quads are quite there, but hamstrings and glutes definitely need to come up more. I think because obviously I've always just really done powerlifting. I'm quite a quad dominated squatter. They've got that density there, but the back hasn't. So I need to do that.
So what made you decide to do like powerlifting? I know there's some women in powerlifting. Obviously, there's women in like every kind of, athletic endeavor. But, powerlifting is primarily, it feels like for me and who doesn't powerlift, it feels like it's dominated mostly by men. You don't see a lot of like women really going into it. At least I haven't met too many. So what made you decide to just jump into that?
Well, it was like the community side of it. It's got quite a large community in the UK, and there are quite a lot of females that
Okay.
do now. When I first started, there wasn't, but it definitely has grown a lot. And I think it was just sort of like being part of that sort of community with it, and being strong is good, isn't it? Like,
it feels good to be strong, right? I know it's so strange to me when I see guys that are like weak, and then they have no desire to work out and no desire to get stronger. It's such a weird concept, because I would think that you would, like, you feel better being stronger. It does something with your mind too. Like, you feel mentally more capable when you're stronger. And yeah, it's always strange when you see people that have no desire to gain any type of strength. It's I don't know if you ever come across anybody like that, but
yeah, like definitely. And I think obviously being able to sort of get your mind in a good place and push through those like heavy 1 rep maxes and stuff,
yeah,
definitely does have like a good carryover to bodybuilding when you've got to like fight them last few reps out and stuff. Obviously, it is a totally different like way of training and things, but from a mental point of view, I think they have helped each other.
Right, like the ability to overcome like adversity, right? Like when you're just, it's hard, you can barely push it up, but then you just mentally find the strength to do it. That's important in all aspects of life, not just weightlifting, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So can you speak about the difference in the training for powerlifting and bodybuilding?
Yeah, so it's basically, obviously, powerlifting. You want to be moving things quickly from A to B. Really, just form isn't really that important as long as you're getting it up and it's powerful.
Right.
But in terms of obviously bodybuilding, you want to be making sure you can feel the muscle and the forms there and the connection with the muscles there. So obviously the weights are a lot different in terms of like what you're actually lifting and how you're lifting it.
In power lifting, like what would be, so better way to phrase this question would be like, when you go into workout for powerlifting, and let's say you've got a competition coming up, whatever amount of weeks, how do you like move towards being your best at that competition? Do you lift heavy all the time, every time you come in? Do you progressively, go up in weight? Like, how does that work, that process?
Yeah, so I would do sort of, it's like a 2-day split across each movement. So I would usually squat like twice a week, do one session which is based like heavier reps, like maybe 3 with a top single, and then creep that up. And then on the other day, later on in the week, I would do like a lighter, maybe a more technical day, where I'm still moving heavy weight, like a heavy percentage, but it's not massively heavy on sort of fatigue and things like that.
Got it. So it's not like every day you come in, you're just maxing out, like,
No, like it would be obviously creeped up over sort of a 8-week peak, I'd say. And then obviously just pushed up 2.5 kilos each session.
What is your like diet look like when you power lift? Do powerlifters keep a strict diet? Because we tend to think of them as just eating anything. Is that kind of how it is?
I think you would benefit a hell of a lot more if you did. Like now, obviously, I've been on the other side of it where diet is a lot more in tune with performance. I think it would definitely have a massive impact on strength if the powerlifters did eat well as well.
Right. I mean, you can't escape nutrition, right? If you eat, crappy food, even for powerlifting, it probably minimizes your performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I obviously I tracked macros and things when I did compete in powerlifting because I had to stay at a certain weight, like to be in a weight class, but it wasn't the best, like it was if it fit your macros, I'll have a cookie whilst I'm training kind of thing.
Right.
Whereas I wouldn't do that now.
Yeah. How was that that transition? Like the transition from being essentially able to eat whatever you want to now you're trying to lean out. You've got a bodybuilding style prep, mentally and physically. How was that?
I think at first it was a bit hard, obviously, to get into the routine of eating sort of every 2 hours and things like that. Yeah. But it was good once I got into it. Like I used the meal times and stuff to structure my actual day. So on the days that I didn't have a routine, I kind of had a fake routine because it was, well, I eat at this time, and you know what I mean? So it kept me in that sort of regiment, which is what you need, really.
Yeah. Are you a person that works better with like a regimented schedule?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If I don't have anything on during the day, I'm just like, what do I do?
I'm the same way. If I have too much free time, it seems like I get nothing accomplished. But whenever I have like structured, like my day is structured, my week is structured, even though I have a lot of things to accomplish, it seems like I have time to accomplish everything. So it's weird how like you really, personally what I do is I like to write things down. It kind of helps me, just kind of check things off. Do you ever do that?
Oh yeah, everything's written down. I have lists about lists. Especially after just coming out of a prep where my brain just didn't work at all. Everything had to be written down in front of me, or I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
How was it for you, like getting, seeing your body lean? Did you have to pull out like basically all your carbs, or are you get lean pretty easily? Like how did that transition go for you?
Because it was like the first time I've ever really pushed my body to that sort of lean level. Like I didn't really know how it was gonna work or what to expect. So I just kind of took each day as it came, really. But it was really weird, like being that small. And it's even weirder now being like coming out of the other end, and I'm still lean for what I have been, but I feel a lot bigger, even though I'm I'm not. Like I've put like a stone on since the show, so around 9 kilos, which is quite a lot.
Yeah.
But I came down, I think it was 23 kilos from the starter prep. So
yeah, I mean that's significant because you're not particularly large woman. So it's like, so to lose 23, what you said, 23 kilos, that's that's a extreme amount of weight. Do you feel like that was like was there a healthy way of doing it, or did you struggle with it?
Well, obviously, I was prepping for like 25 weeks, so it was the changes were like very minimal, and it wasn't that drastic. So your body gets sort of used to it, and the changes, like when I first had, say, if I had a carb drop, I would notice it for the first couple of days, and then my body would just kind of get used to it, and then I'd do that for another 2 weeks, and if it needed to be changed, it would, sort of thing.
Did you like that 25 weeks? A lot of people prep like 12 to 16 weeks, that, a little bit shorter. I have met and spoken with people that I had on my show that do a longer prep. They seem to love it because of that, because of the ease of transition between the dropping the weight and such. So how did you like the 25 weeks?
Well, it went really quick. Like, it's mad that it's like it was nearly 6 months or whatever. But it was all right. Like, you just kind of get used to it. And I think because I already kind of lived that sort of meal prep life before, it didn't really change that much. And I think obviously with the lockdown, it kind of helped because it took away that the people asking you to go out for food, or people asking you to go out to the pub or whatever, because you didn't. So it kind of worked in my favor for a lot of the months that there was none of that to do anyway.
Yeah, that's for me, it was very similar. It's like once COVID hit, since people became so isolated, it wasn't hard to train, and it wasn't hard to eat right because there was really nothing else to do but to train and eat right. So it's like, well, might as well just take this time to, get my body in the shape that I wanted. There's nothing else to do. It's not like you're going to go anywhere and do anything. So yeah, definitely it helped with that, at least. Unfortunately, didn't, everything else kind of, it sucked, but at least with that, it helped. So you say you work at a gym. So what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm a personal trainer and I do online coaching as well.
Okay. And at what point did you get into that?
So I did it about a year and a half ago. I obviously I trained myself for a long time first, and I was actually a dog walker for a long time, whilst obviously training, and then I just started doing online coaching a bit. People just ask you, and then obviously went in and did it properly, and then started working at a gym, doing one-to-ones and that. But I do majority of it is online, but I do have a select few that I do coach in person. So
you were dog walking before?
Yeah, I had a dog walking business for about 4 years.
How does that work? Do you just advertise that you're, I mean, is that like a very lucrative field, dog walking?
I just like dogs, and I like being out and about walking. So I thought, I might as well get paid for it.
So you combine both things that you love.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then obviously when you get sick of walking in the rain, it's you think of something else.
So did you have like 3 or 4, like 5 dogs at once, or like do you see sometimes in like movies of people walking dogs like in the major cities?
Yeah, I used to do so I think it was like 6 at the most I'd have. But they were all dead nice, and I let most of them lead, so they didn't pull my arms out.
Well, that was gonna be my next question. Was there like any kind of like story or anything crazy happen while you were dog walking?
Oh, loads.
Lots. So
yeah, too many.
got it. Yeah, I would imagine so, right? Like you have 6 dogs, you're probably walking, was it every single day you had to walk them?
Yeah, 5 days a week. So I would do sort of about 4 to 5 hours a day.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Go like obviously pick them up, do an hour, drop them off, and then go on to the next lot.
Yeah. Yeah. People don't understand, like, but just, it seems like dog walking, it's so, so like simple, but when you have that much going on, it can become very daunting.
Oh yeah, and it was very, very like physical and full on, and
Mm-hmm.
and then obviously you're looking after other people's like babies at the end of the day,
Yeah.
so it's stressful as well. You got to make sure that they're all safe and
Yeah.
don't eat each other in the back.
Like I'll tell you something, people get more upset about their dogs than sometimes they do if something happens to their kids. So it's so yeah, that's a lot of responsibility to have on you, but you decided, that's enough walking with dogs for me. I'm going to go ahead and start training people.
So it kind of was forced with COVID as well, because obviously a lot of people were in the house and working from home, so they didn't need me anymore.
Yeah.
So it dropped pretty much by a third, 2/3 within a couple of months. So I just had to then obviously find something else that was going to support me financially, because
yeah, a lot of people ran into like financial issues with COVID, just because so many businesses have like you said, dropped off, and a lot of people weren't willing to spend money on things that they were willing to spend on before. But I mean, as you mentioned, you went into training. One thing that COVID did is definitely shined a light, on just people's health, right? Because a lot of times, like, people didn't really care about how, like, their health. I feel like it's gotten better because so much emphasis has been put on being healthy and how COVID doesn't affect you as badly if you're healthier, if you don't have as many comorbidities. Do you feel like a lot of your clients are like, is that the reason that they're joining with you, or are they just wanting like aesthetics? Like, what is the main reason why you coach?
Yeah, much. I do. Majority of my clients are lifestyle, so it is obviously just getting into training, sort of getting fitter, and then obviously I do have a bit of powerlifting clients as well. But majority of my one-to-one is sort of along the lines of like the weight loss and the healthy and fitness.
Yeah, that's big. When this whole thing started, I started walking more outside because I switched from going to a gym to my own home gym. And I didn't have any cardio equipment, so I just started walking outside. And I've noticed a lot of people were walking, a lot more people were active, and excuse me. So I mean, it definitely is a positive that came out of that for sure. As far as like weight loss and things like that, like how do you approach that? Like, as somebody like comes in to you and they want to lose weight, like what are your steps that you would take initially?
Yeah, so I'd obviously do a consultation with them and find out sort of what they are doing at the moment, what they know about nutrition and how they eat and things like that, what they currently do, if they already train, if they're active and things like that, and then obviously build it from there. Because a lot of people, like obviously the general population, they don't really understand nutrition and how to structure meals properly, because you don't have to starve yourself to lose it. And I think that people have that misconception that you do, that you have to eat nothing, and it's not the case really. So
yeah, I mean, definitely that is out there, right? Like that's a real problem, because people don't know how to eat right. And that sounds funny. That sounds funny to say, like, how do you not know how to eat right? But it's a real problem, because you'll hear these theories on how to diet and how to lose weight. And for people like you who know what they're doing, you're probably thinking, this is crazy. Like, you don't need to do this. Like, this is, these are like fad diets that once you come off of them, you're going to gain all the weight, right back. So, so would you say like that's the biggest issue that you run into with your clients, is that people don't really like know how to treat food the right way?
Yeah, I think obviously protein is a lot. People don't know how to eat protein. They think that it's a supplement that you have to take. I find a lot of things that people think that that it's something that you have to supplement into your diet and you don't really need it. And they think that carbs are bad, things like that. So it's just about educating them, really, because I don't want them to be with me forever. I want them to be able to go on after so many months or whatever, and be able to maintain a healthy lifestyle, rather than, lose loads of weight, then end up putting it back on and having to come back and things like that. So
right. And plus, I mean, if you are able to give somebody the results that they're looking for, they'll go and they'll tell somebody else of what good results they had with you, and then you'll get more and more clients that way, as opposed to having somebody be successful for a short amount of time, and then they don't feel good about themselves because then they gain all the weight back, and all the problems and issues that come with that. You said you do have some powerlifting clients as well?
Yeah.
And how is that these women or men that you're coaching?
Yeah, all women.
All women. So, and how do you generally approach that? Are these like people that have already been into powerlifting, or they're just getting into powerlifting?
Yeah, so I've got a few that have been powerlifting before, who have come to me from other coaches. So obviously their programs are a bit different, and everyone's obviously got different strengths and weaknesses that they need to address to bring their best.
Yeah.
And then I've got a few that started with me initially for body transformation, and then decided that they actually quite liked lifting the heavy weights and wanted to get into that.
Yeah.
Instead.
Very cool.
It's a good little progression when someone starts. I like being strong. Can we do a competition or something like that? So
yeah, very cool. Yeah, that happens a lot. Like, people start weightlifting, and then all of a sudden they'll get really good at it. They'll like the way they look. They'll get into bodybuilding, or in your case, what you're talking about is they're like getting stronger. They're like, hey, maybe I can test myself, and that's the best way to be, right? So be able to test yourself against others. In powerlifting, I know that there's and I'm not extremely familiar with everything, so you have to correct me, but there's competitions where they have like equipment, right? So how is that, I guess, how is that determined? Is it every competition different? Like, you'll have ones with equipment, like with shirts and such, others like free of all kinds of equipment?
Yeah. So there's like, so you have all your different federations, and then within the federation you'll have the different classes. So you can have ones where you just wear knee sleeves. You can have a one where you have knee wraps on, or you can have like full kit where you'd have a squat suit, bench shirt, things like that. But you'd only compete against people who have got the kit on as well. So
got it. What's the benefit of like a shirt? Like, for people that don't understand, like, what's the benefit of having one of those like shirts on? I believe it's for, you said it's for bench, right? Or squats as well?
Yeah, you can put them on for all three. It basically just makes you so you can lift more. It's really, really tight, and the material's really strong. So when you go against it, you've got to really fight to get down, and then obviously it helps you.
It springs you up.
Yeah, but they're very technical. They can go wrong. You've got to get the line and everything perfect, otherwise,
Have you competed in those?
I've not competed, but I've been in them.
You've been in them, yeah. It's weird to me because it's like, I guess, like, what's the purpose? So it makes you lift more weight, But but if they never had any shirts or anything like that, then you would just know how much you lift, you know, by yourself. So what's the purpose of the shirt? Just to put a bigger number up, essentially?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I've never really got into it in terms of the competing side of it, but originally with like the IPF and stuff, that was the only way you could compete was in them.
Interesting.
So that was like the old school side of it, and then obviously they brought other things in throughout, like just knee sleeves and stuff.
So what is, like, if there was one organization that's the elite, like powerlifting organization, like IFBB is for, you know, bodybuilding, like is there one that's like that for powerlifting?
Yeah, so you have the like the IPF, which is like your drug tested one, and then you have like the GPC, which is what usually is at like the Arnold's and things like that, right. And that's like non-tested.
Got it. So what's the percentage of people that go into you know, into the drug tested as opposed to non-drug tested? I imagine, you know, just initially, I imagine most people are going into the drug non-tested one. Is that tends to be the case?
Yeah. I mean, it's quite mixed in the UK, but I'd say that majority of the sort of people, obviously, they start out in that, and then so the IPF, you've got to be selected by them. So it's the actual international team are very small. Whereas with the other feds, they're quite bigger, and more people can compete internationally.
Got it. What's the crossover? And I don't know if you would know this, but I just go ahead and throw it out there, since we just had the Olympics, and you know, there's a lot of amazing Olympic lifts that happened. What's the crossover between the like powerlifting community and then the Olympic you know, weightlifting community? Are there people competing in both? Like how does that, or are these two completely different styles of weightlifting?
Yeah, they are totally different. But I do know a few that do both.
Got it.
There's actually a few in Manchester where I live that do compete in both. Yeah, but they're very strong, like benchers, because they've got to obviously chuck it over.
Yeah. It's amazing. Sometimes I'll see it like I didn't get a chance to see much of the Olympics just live, you know, on TV, but I'll catch all the clips on Instagram and stuff like that. And some of these lifts that they're doing is insane, you know, just and if you want to believe that they're not, you know, they're drug free, I guess it depends on, you know, what you think about that. But if they are drug free, then that even more, you know, amazing to see people like lift that much weight. It's incredible. So what are you thinking as far as like your next figure competition? When you play, do you have a month in mind?
Yeah, it will definitely be sort of around like the back end of next year.
Okay.
Maybe like September-y time, something like that.
Oh, so you're gonna wait that long, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's my 30th in March, you see, so I don't want to be on prep for that next year. So I'm trying to work backwards from that.
Got it. So what is your like off-season goals now? What are you trying to bring up? You know, what are you working on?
My delts and all my sort of posterior chain really needs to be up, because obviously once you lean, it's really apparent that you have no muscle.
That's sometimes like the case. You'll see people, and I've been a victim of this too, especially when I was younger, and I'll be like, oh, I look so big, my legs look so big, and then you get lean and you're like, they're not that big, they're not as big as I thought they were. Oh man, that's funny. So are you now you completely like transitioning and focusing on bodybuilding now, since they're kind of like two styles, different styles of training? I imagine it'd be hard to do both at the same time.
Yeah, like when I first started bodybuilding, I was like, oh yeah, I'll do both, it'll be fine. But I couldn't, like, the fatigue just was just too much, like trying to lift like heavy weights, but then obviously trying to do that for like sets of sort of 10 and 12, especially on like stuff like squats and deadlifts. I was just absolutely knackered. So I just decided, well, I'm not going to compete in powerlifting for a while, then there's no point in training that way. And I kind of fallen out of love with it anyway, since obviously going all the way to Australia and then it not happening. Like it was kind of like, oh, I need to focus on something else now.
Yeah. So it kind of hurts your heart a little bit there, huh?
Yeah, because I was in a really good position to like to do all right. So I was like,
and they snatched it from you,
yeah.
Pulled it away last minute.
Yeah. Flew all the way to the other side of the world.
Oh man, that's so. When you were there, did you like get to do anything with the time that you had, or you said they went in lockdown, right?
So we trained at the Pro Raw gym in Melbourne, and I did do like I did test my maxes. So I find sort of got to figure out whereabouts I was, but it's not the same as being
right
on the platform, because you get the adrenaline and you can sneak a couple of extra kilos in there.
Yeah, and you get to walk away with a medal or a trophy. That's always nice.
I wouldn't have done that.
Oh no, you don't think so?
Nah, no, not at all. They're monsters over there in Australia for powerlifting.
Yeah. Oh well, that's an amazing little island, right? Like it's relatively size-wise, it's small, but there's a lot of good athletes that come out of Australia, like MMA, soccer, I believe like they do rugby too. I'm not super familiar, but like a lot of really good athletes, especially combat sports. I'm really into combat sports, and they have a lot of like really tough guys and girls there. So it's always interesting to see something that's physically so small, like, relatively speaking, and but just so much talent, So I didn't realize they were like that big into powerlifting as well. Like you said, they're monsters over there.
Yeah, they're well ahead of us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're like, I'm done with that. I'm just doing figure.
Yeah, that's it. And now I'm the same in this. They're all monsters here as well.
Oh, you'll do well. You'll just again, it's a matter of you've never dived into like sculpting your physique. It was all about power. So now you'll do that, and you'll probably reach heights you never even thought you could. So
yeah, well, I hope so. Do my best.
Yeah. So hey, if so just to kind of wind up, I know you got clients and everything, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, but if somebody wanted to reach out to you for like training and consultation, what would be the best way to do that?
Just on Instagram would probably be the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'll link, guys, I'll link everything down below. So if you want to reach out, definitely do so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having us. It's been good to chat.
Yeah, of course. Take care. Bye-bye.
Well, see you later.